Hi everyone, we're at session 7 already. Time's gone by quite quickly. Today, I'm just going to go over very briefly the two chapters that were assigned. Chapter 8 was on experiential learning, and Chapter 9 was on embodied learning. And there's quite a bit of crossover and overlap between these two areas. Experiential learning is mainly about being in place. Place-based learning is often what it's called. A book that probably is a good one that I could recommend and am recommending is The Walking Curriculum. It's by a professor from Simon Fraser University. And it speaks very, volumes about experiencing learning, learning out of doors. I've added a few things in our sites today that we're going to look at. One is about just aspects of outdoor learning spaces and what I call covered multi-purpose activity spaces. So we're going to look at that a little bit. The chapter 9 is on embodied learning. It's a lot about art and phys ed. Sometimes I don't know how well those things go together, but they do talk about different ways of implementing them in the curriculum. One is having just specific lessons in these areas, art lessons taught by specialists. Another way is having workshops, bringing people in from outside. And a third way is integrating, say, phys ed or art into other parts of the curriculum. And by art, I mean music and drama and dance. They spend a little bit of time talking about dance in that chapter as well. There's a lot of information in those chapters. They're both fairly brief, but they do go into quite a bit of detail about experiential learning and embodied learning. And they're both areas that I'm quite interested in. I'm interested in outdoor education, outdoor learning, learning gardens. I'm also interested in art and music. And for some reason, when students do research on dance, I'm the person who gets asked to kind of supervise them. I'm not much of a dancer, but I'm really interested in art and expression. And I actually am starting to think that of all the arts, dance is one that encompasses everything. It encompasses motion and movement, like physical activity. It encompasses music usually. There's usually a dramatic story and narrative in dance. And it's very artistic and it's also very visual. So in a way, dance is something that likely should really be taught in schools. Before I look at some of the resources and articles that are posted on Canvas, I just wanted to talk a bit about some robotics. And last week we were going to look at robots, but we didn't really have time to. And I just wanted to look at one robot today. There's another one, the Sphero model, that I'll look at next week, the next time we meet, and it kind of pertains more to the maker movement. This is a robot called an MakeBlock or an MBot. It's an MBot robot made by the MakeBlock company. It's made in China. They cost about $120. If you have a class of 25 students, if you could get a hold of about 5 of these, that would service the whole class. They're based on an Arduino, which is a microcircuitry board that's in the top of this. They run or they connect to your computer through Bluetooth, and they also have a battery. Just run on AA batteries, 4 of them for each robot. They turn them on right here. They'll light up. They make a few noises. Now, an advantage of these particular robots is you can code them or program them with an app on your iPhone or on a cell phone. On an Android, you can buy the app. You can purchase it. It's a free app. You can use an Android for that or an iPhone. But you can also run them on a program off your computer, and it is called MakeBlock. And just hang on a second. It's called MBlock, sorry. And it is a derivation of Scratch. It's very similar. In fact, it is Scratch with a few additions, a few edits made to it so it'll handle a robot. So I'm going to go into MBlock, and I'm going to code this, and we'll just see what kind of coding we can get done. So I'm on my computer desktop right now. I'm just going to scan down to the dock. I previously downloaded this program called MBlock from the web. And it is the application that will drive this program on my computer screen. I could also use an app called MakeBlock on my cell phone to do this. But I'll open up MBlock. Its icon is a little panda bear. It's very similar to Scratch. Like I said, it is Scratch. Scratch has a cat. This one has a panda bear. It says there's a new version for update. I don't need that right now. I want to make sure that it's going to find the right computer. And there's another computer made by this company called a Kodi Rocky, and I'll actually show that to you next week. This computer, I need to add another one. This is the MBot. I'm going to add it and say OK. And now I'll be recording and coding for this MBOT computer. There's a series of functions, and one is action, there's looks, there's lighting, there's sensing, events. So I'm going to say, let's drag this out into the coding area, and we'll move forward 50% for 1 second. I don't want it moving any more than that because it's on a little tabletop I have in my office, and it's quite small. Then I'm going to say turn left 50% for 1 second. Then I'm going to say turn right 50% for 1 second. Now I'm going to add a controller to make those repeat. So those two functions, right and left, I'm going to say let's repeat those 4 times. And that way it'll do a little dance. It'll go right for a second, then left for a second, right for a second. It'll do it 4 times. It also has some lighting effects. So I'm going to say right before that repeat function of little dance, I want the color to change to, say, turquoise. And I want to maybe have that for 2 seconds. And then after the little dance, I want the color to change to, well, we'll just keep it at red. We'll just keep it there at red. Then I can actually play some notes. I'm going to play a couple of notes here. I'll play a C4 for 1 second, or 1 beat. And then I will play a G4, which is, okay, for 1 beat. And we'll put in a 3rd note. And it will be a C, F, and G. We'll put it as an F, or actually an E, which will be the C scale, for 1 second. Or it'll be the C chord. So just to get this going, to control this or an event, I'm going to put a green flag. And a green flag is how you start programs with the MBOT robot. It's ready to go, so I'm just going to click that. I'll turn the robot on, and we'll see what happens. So I'm just going to turn on the robot. The switch is on the side. It makes a little sound, says that it's on. I go to my program, and I'm going to say I need this to connect, and I want to connect through a Bluetooth function. And it'll identify, or it'll determine there's a robot nearby. The Bluetooth has found the robot. It's connect, and I'm going to click connect. And a little light comes on. Now if I click the green button, it should start doing the program. It goes forward for 1 second. Turquoise light comes on. It does this little dance of 4 repeat functions of right and left. Then the red light comes on. And it plays 3 notes. So that coding worked out fairly well on the MBOT robot. And next week we'll take a look at the Sphero robot, and I'll also show you the Kodi Brockie, which is another product made by MakeBlock. I just want to remind you that the idea behind robotics is not the robots themselves. They're very attractive to some students. Young boys really like playing with robots, and you can have battles. I don't really like allowing students to smash robots into each other. If they're inclined to do that, I'll just get a knitting needle and some balloons and attach the balloons to the robots, and they can travel the robots around and try to poke the balloons and pop the balloons of each other's robots, and that way it saves a little bit of damage from occurring to the robots. The thing about robotics is really the coding and computational thinking. That's kind of why we're working with robots, is to get familiar with computational thinking. There are other models. You can create your own models. Mindstorm's NXT, or the newest versions of that, allows you to build your own robots, and there's quite a few other products that allow you to kind of shape your own robots. Right now, I'll move on to looking at Canvas. I just have a few sites to look at today, and we'll probably wrap it up a little more quickly than we did in the last few weeks. So we're on session 7 of Canvas, and I just have 3 resources listed for today. The first one is it sort of serves as an example for a proposal. It's a proposal that I made for a covered multipurpose activity space for the university campus. I'm just going to get rid of press the hamburger, get rid of the sidebar. This is a PDF document, and it just shows you the kind of things. Are not exactly listed in the same way that I had them for the samples proposals that I gave you. but it does give you just an idea of how to break things down. So I have a background of the goal, background purposes. Now, I tied this proposal to the UBC's strategic plan. So these are items that are right out of the strategic plan. And this proposal was accepted to be constructed. And I'm not sure what happened. It seems to have fallen by the wayside recently. But I wanted it by the Learning Garden. And the whole rationale was working in the Learning Garden in the summer, it's deadly hot out there. There's gravel on the ground. So I thought it'd be nice to have a covered space. And I just found some samples online. And this is one from Portland, Oregon. This is from St. Louis, Missouri. They're sort of outdoor learning spaces. They're covered, and they're multi-purpose. You can use them for all sorts of things. This one is from Sheffield in the United Kingdom, and this one is from Colchester in the United Kingdom. I cited it over by our Learning Garden. We have this kind of Celtic spiral thing going on. I don't know if you've been over there. There's the 8 garden beds, and then this is where I've made the site location for this covered learning space. We'll see if it actually gets built. It was commissioned to an architect, and it really has been sort of morphed into a welcoming space for Indigenous ceremonies, but it still can be used as a outdoor learning and outdoor classroom. So that's just a sample of the kind of things that might prop up in a proposal. And just back in this, the second thing I have is this is an article about the book, The Walking Curriculum. And it was by Gillian Judson, who's a prof at Simon Fraser. And it's a really interesting book for elementary, middle school teachers, and high school teachers. It just tells you the ways you can learn by walking out in the woods or out in the city, and just doing all sorts of activities related to that. It's very much experiential kind of learning, but it also is a little bit of embodied learning as well. And lastly, I just put this article in, and this is a really great article, and if you're going to read anything in this course, read this article. It's about the Maker movement, and it just talks about these different factors that came together at a specific time. The low cost of materials, some ideas that date all the way back to John Dewey, and just it really gives you a really good background and a really good foundation for understanding the Maker movement. Now, next week, we're going to be spending a little more time talking about robots. The chapter 10 in the book is about multiliteracies. I'll go over that. And I am going to spend a bit of time talking about the Maker movement and looking at how we can use robots and they can fulfill some functions in the Maker movement. I'm just going to give you a lesson plan to use a Sphero computer in a water application. And I'll probably show you some examples from last year's course in STEAM, and probably examples of people that are currently taking this course. So I think we'll wrap it up there for today, and hope you have a good week. And next week is session 8, which is actually the last week. And one more thing, and I'll send out a reminder. On March 10th, which is Wednesday at 4:30, I'll do another Zoom session for an hour long, and people can talk about or ask questions about their projects that they'll be working on at that time. But I'll be sending out another reminder about that, or several reminders about that over the week. So have a good week. I'll see you in session 8 next week. Thanks so much.